Opportunity paralysis. It's something that I experience on a very regular basis. This diagram on the whiteboard behind me, it's been there for more than a year now. It was the product of a stimulant-induced mania in the middle of the night, but it is the culmination of a number of years of study and thought. And I refer to it as the problem, capital T, capital P. It basically encompasses what I see is the problem in the world, the way the trouble that needs to be addressed in the world. The long and the short of it is, this is my thesis project that's laid out in a handy diagram. But the problem is that each of the components of this diagram is itself its own topic. And so when I go to communicate, I often find myself struggling to figure out where to start, where to begin. Because each one of these things, I have to explain something else before it'll make sense to my audience. And before that makes sense, then I have to explain something else. So I often struggle to know where to start and when to start, which causes me to become paralyzed. The super duper short version is that there are runaway systems that threaten our survival. I mean, that's putting it. It sounds really extreme, but that's the reality of the world that we've built. There's feedback loops in our socioeconomic structures that self-amplify and have now moved beyond our control. Whereas at one point, the economy and our technology was our tool to do with as we please, now the economy and our technological tools are using us to do its bidding. At the core of it is a problem of valuation. The value of a dollar is what drives our economic model. And what does a dollar represent? At one point, it represented an amount of silver or gold that you could exchange this certificate for. But now money is completely arbitrary in terms of its value. At its core, though, a dollar represents an amount of abstract labor time. An amount of, well, minimum wage labor, effectively, that may or may not produce anything of value, of actual utility value, but that's what the economy is trying to maximize for. So when you hear economic growth spoken by some wizard of the economy, what you're actually hearing is growth of labor time. This is grossly oversimplifying the topic, and I'll have more to speak about it in more detail later, but that's the essence of the problem, and I really want to explain this. I want to get this into the public discourse, because just by changing the way that you think about and the way that you think, the way that you look at the value of a dollar changes the perspective of the entire world. With that as the core of the problem, all these other things that surround the core of the problem, they just kind of follow from that one thesis. But the system is very complex. It's not a simple solution, and it's not a simple problem. The root of the problem is quite simple, but solving it is going to be the most complicated thing in the history of humanity. And I don't even know if we'll be able to. I don't know if we're going to pull out of this one, or if the biosphere is going to collapse first and do us in. That's my worry, and that's why I've been working on this project, The World After, because I foresee that we're hurtling towards a catastrophe of some degree, and maybe this will spur us on a path to fixing our mistakes and moving towards a better world after. But it's not a sure thing. If we just let the cards fall as they may, we're just going to keep accelerating towards this catastrophic event. And it won't be like a snap event, like a nuclear bomb or something like that, or a zombie apocalypse. It's going to be a slow slide towards a virtually unlivable planet if we don't fucking do something about it. And this is what keeps me up at night. I was up most of last night. I slept maybe like 2 to 3 hours last night because I was just consumed with these thoughts of, oh shit, we're doomed unless something major changes. And all the political options on offer, all of the economic solutions, all these market-based solutions to climate change and all that other stuff, it's all totally bullshit. There is no way that a market-based solution to climate change can work because the problem is the markets are making the decisions. If we leave our decision-making to a non-conscious entity, it's going to be making decisions that are not conscious of the factors that ensure our survival. That it doesn't make any sense to forego our option to choose. But yet, this is how our entire society operates nowadays. The neoliberal model is such that not even governments, not even politicians are making the decisions anymore. It's all the market forces. Does the market like the decision that we've made? Does the market respond favorably to the politician that we've elected? And it's just so frustrating because the experts, the so-called experts, are the ones that know how that game operates. But they don't see beyond the rules of the game. They don't see how that game is operating in the real world. It's this made-up fantasy of a world that approximates the real world's behavior. The economic response mechanisms do approximate climate change eventually, but by the time they're actually registered on a balance sheet, it's already too late. We've already lost the forest. We've already lost the ecosystems that support. The prime example of this is the collapse of the cod fisheries in the early 90s off the shore of Newfoundland. It used to be a bountiful fishery in the before time, but as fishing continued to accelerate, the fish started getting smaller and they started getting fewer. And the economic response to this, the rational response to this, is, oh, well, we need bigger nets, we need more ships so that we can dig deeper into the fisheries, and so that we can keep our investment, so that we can keep profits up. But the problem is, it caused the fishery to collapse. Overfishing was the problem. And the market-based solution to overfishing was overfish more. It makes perfect sense in the quarterly profit sense, but it caused the fishery to fucking collapse. No sense. Same thing is happening on a global scale. The same thing is happening with the collapse of the Amazon rainforest, all the other rainforests, all the other valuable and vulnerable ecosystems. Those fires from last summer, that is a product of this economic model that does not take ecology into mind. And as you can tell, talking about this makes me pretty heated. I get very passionate about this because it's my survival we're talking about here. It's our survival we're talking about here. We can't live on a planet that doesn't have a functional biosphere. I'm not moving to Mars. I don't want to move to Mars, and I don't want to live in a biodome of synthetic making. I want to live in my apartment. I want to live on a planet that's livable. So we got to do something. But when I get impassioned like this, sometimes it feels like it makes me less credible. And indeed, I've been accused of being a Chicken Little kind of guy. But no, the agreement of all the ecologists that are thinking clearly, at least, is that we are in some deep, serious shit here. And unless we do something, we're doomed. So, anyway, so that's why I'm such a Debbie Downer, and why I can't sleep at night. And I really want to work through it, and I need help. I need other people to help me work through this. I got a lot of work to do. See you tomorrow.